Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you so much again for joining me here. I hope you're having a fantastic day. We're taking another look once more at Solana, seeing what's going on. Just going to go ahead and recap what happened over the weekend and just some interesting little shenanigans here. In other words, Bitcoin lost 84,000, right about this range here. Solana pulled back pretty hard, so just keep in mind, Solana has been retracing significantly to the downside versus recovering to the upside. So I just want you to recognize that statistically, you're going to be more favorable to try to short this coin than take a long. I was hoping to short in the 140 range. We never saw that, unfortunately, because Bitcoin never quite hit its 85, 86K range over the weekend. So with all that being said, we kind of got to draw out a new game plan here and see what the course of action is this week. My secondary to that short position was to take a long in the current range of 125 to 128. So if you saw that in my trade alerts, which are available here, you'll know that that was kind of a consideration for me there. Okay, so the truth is, at this point, you don't just take a long in the blind because this is what you originally wanted to do a few days ago. You want to recalibrate, reevaluate, and see if it's worth taking along at this point. From a bird's eye view, it doesn't seem practical, but really just depends. Now, I do personally feel like Bitcoin's going to continue higher to sweep its upper area of liquidation. So if you just kind of take a look here, give you some perspective, Bitcoin is printing a bullish flag pattern, which doesn't mean too much, but the 4-hour time frame has really shifted momentum, kind of letting us know that further upside makes sense with a lot of liquidation between 85 and 87K. So it's just a pretty significant margin there that I feel is going to get hit in the relative near future, and that should bode well for Solana. But once more, if you take a look here, you can see Solana is struggling pretty significant, and Bitcoin's mostly going sideways. So just kind of get used to that. That's been par for the course in this situation for a lot of altcoins, not just Solana. So let's take a look here at liquidation, kind of see what's going on. Before we do though, please hit the like button, comment below. Really appreciate that. Thank you so much. And if you do want to become again a better trader, cryptocash.tech is the site, link down below. So 124 to 125, that little range there is that lower liquidation area. And this exists because a lot of folks are taking longs at 125. And that's a good reason. 125 has been a consistent variable for Solana, holding pretty strong in that range of, let's just roughly say 125 to 130. Now 128 more specifically, but we're looking pretty good here in this range. However, there is still a lot of liquidation now as low as 120. So if you're going to consider getting into a long, maybe consider averaging into your position instead of just going all in right now. That's how I like to do it in a lot of cases, averaging in, averaging out. More professional traders will do that. Not calling myself a professional by any stretch, but I can tell you the last 20 plus years of trading, you learn a thing or two about taking profits, and that you don't just let everything ride to the moon. It's just not what market we're in right now. Even 2 or 3 years ago, that could have worked well, but most people seem to have the mentality that cryptos just get rich quick. It's totally not. Okay. Anyways, having said that, liquidation delta is still bearish. Okay. Or at least it's flipped bearish rather. Over the weekend it was nice and green, and as I mentioned on Friday and Saturday, be careful, be ready for a dump. I was hoping we saw a little bit more of a push higher before getting into a nice little short position at 140, but once more, that window of opportunity never happened. So it's okay, I didn't FOMO in. Having said that, we can see here a lot of folks who did are in profit right now, shorts are in play. You don't necessarily try to take a long into that. Once more, I do feel like we're starting to see a bottom here, but once, it's hard to say specifically. So let's take a look at open interest. We can recognize that secondary amount of open interest outside of the current range of 128 is 123 to 122 and also 120. This speaks to these areas of liquidation though. So just because open interest is there doesn't mean it's necessarily a support, but you got to recognize a lot of open interest accumulates there, or that's basically what it is. But more importantly, liquidation isn't support. It just kind of hangs out at support ranges, right? So one is not the other exactly, but the key takeaway here is that those areas act like magnets. So the price does pull back to 123, 124. That'd be a realistic area for a bounce or a pivot from there. Okay, so we can see that's kind of like the secondary most amount of volume here locally. So not a bad thing, not a good thing, depends on how you look at it, right? So let's take a look at the weekly, kind of work our way down, and just kind of recognize that we closed in a doji candle there that is mostly positive. Don't get stuck on the color, because this really just kind of helps us understand that there's a lot of indecision. In other words, the price didn't want to go any lower. It opened and closed at the same level. So that's generally a favorable sign. Usually you see trend reversals occur when there are doji candles like this on larger time frames. So we could be getting to our bottom here soon. That's kind of what that's implying. Bottom is tentatively in. Everything else is bearish though, so do not get this twisted here. There's not like we're just instantly going to see the price shoot straight up because of this. It just kind of implies that we're tentatively bottoming out. And once more, you can kind of see this here. we've seen a lot of weekly candle wicks down to this 125 range. If you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, almost 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, somewhere between like 10 and 12 candle wicks to this 125 level, always holding, always recovering. So there's that, right? That's what I call a consolation, nothing you want to trade off of, but it does imply that the bottom is tentatively in. So taking a look at the daily time frame, we can recognize we're still under the 20-day, 50-day SMA. Like there's nothing going to be bullish on the daily time frame. Bitcoin, however, is exuding some positive behavior. It's starting to break free from its descending trend, seeing some shifts in momentum, but it's not like it's a monumental like, hey, Bitcoin's going, it's taken off, right? It's more so just likely going to be retesting its 86 to 87K range based on this liquidation and or a CME gap that's still partially filled. Those are all things that are kind of incentivizing the price. Solana doesn't have any of that stuff present here. So the daily time frame is still very terrible. Not necessarily something you really want to consider taking a long into, but once more, there's a lot of different schools of thought there. My personal feeling is that Bitcoin's going to continue a little bit higher. If it does, Solana should push towards that 130 to 140 range once more, but that's just my personal feelings, and you know how feelings are with trading. They don't belong in trading. All right, so here, let's take a look here. We can see the 20 and the 50-day SMA kind of hanging out right here in the current range of 128 to 130. Not great, not terrible, kind of good, kind of bad. All right, we're under 50 on the RSI. That's not good at all. Bitcoin is maintaining that level, by the way, and we can see here we're under our simple moving average. So a lot of reasons why taking a long position with this coin is just more risky right now at this point. Not to say I wouldn't lean a little bit more towards it, even though everything that we've seen here so far is fairly bearish. I do personally feel like we're going to probably see a pivot or a bounce recovery here, just based on how I feel that Bitcoin's going to respond here soon. That's how most of trading altcoins is going to happen, though. You're going to have to understand how is Bitcoin performing, how are these altcoins responding to it, and combine that with some TA and find out. So the key takeaway here is that when Solana pulled back, when Bitcoin pulled back, you can see Bitcoin bottomed out about 82,300. Solana bottomed out here. It took a little while. It was like 129, 128. But ever since then, it's been maintaining a lower range, and Bitcoin has been effectively creating a slightly higher range. So that does tell us that Solana's underperforming versus Bitcoin, which is never a phenomenal sign. We're also underneath the cloud, lagging spans not free and clear, kind of within the price action. Lagging span, conversion line and the baseline are above, starting to compress rather. These are not ideal optimal scenarios. So keep in mind, at this point, we're probably looking like we're either going to maintain this range for a little while and recover, or we're going to shoot straight down. This is kind of a bearish type of rectangle pattern, which we saw previously play out to the upside, the bullish rectangle, right? So now that we're working our way down, we can presume it'll go lower. That's generally the concept. So for me, when I see stuff like this, I generally try to avoid the trade. Even though I originally wanted to get in the 125 to 128 range, it just seems a little too high a risk to me, and how poorly Solana is performing versus Bitcoin leads me to believe even if Bitcoin were to go up, we're probably not going to see much from Solana. I hope I'm wrong, and that'd be fine if I am, but at this point, there's nothing here that's advantageous or telling me we're going to see a breakout. Nothing phenomenal here, okay? So that's what we got there. I'll post our playout chart on our Twitter, Telegram, and Discord, folks. Thanks again so much for watching. If you want to become a better trader, cryptocash.tech is a site, link down below. Make sure you join us over at Bitunix. This is an example of these reward bonuses they provide monthly. It's awesome stuff. Even though this one just ended recently here, they're going to provide us with a new one here shortly. So use my link below and or feel free to message me if you have any questions. I can get you other recommendation if you're looking for exchanges that work well. All right, folks, have a good rest of your day. We'll see you in the next one. Thanks again so much for your time. Take care.